Shalom, GMS Napash, GMS London, giving all praise to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and honors out there to the brethren on the highways and byways, teaching truth in all sincerity. Okay, today's lesson is going to be on what I'm going to title it. You know, you can't get 100% understanding of the scriptures, you know, just reading in English, man. Okay, because that's not how things work. Okay, when you read these scriptures, this text is a translation, okay, out of their original tongues, okay, which states on the front of the Bible, man. Okay, it tells you here that it was translated out of the original tongues. Okay, now if you understand anything about translations, man, that you kind of lose depth and meaning out of certain words. Okay, they're not all perfectly translatable. Okay, so now the point of this lesson is, if you really want to gain great understanding of these scriptures, man, you have to go back into those original tongues, man. Okay, and get a fuller and deeper understanding of these scriptures, man, because a lot of people make a lot of errors just because they're not diligent enough when they read these scriptures, man, and when they use them. Okay, because they don't have the full understanding of what it is that they're talking about. Okay, but I just want to show you in this lesson, you know, it tells you all of this in the Bible, man. Before you even read Genesis 1:1, it tells you about the translations, man. Okay, and how, you know, how this whole Bible was put together and published, man. Okay, by the order of King James. Okay, but like I said, you know, there's a whole set of pages before you even start reading the scriptures explaining the translations and, you know, how this is all put together, man. But a lot of, you know, I guess a lot of people don't even read that, you know. But I went through it, you know, last night, and I was just picking up some points on it, you know, just to, you know, put in this video to show people. Okay, we're gonna bring out some scriptures as well, but we're just gonna go through some highlights that I made last night. All right, and like I said, you know, a lot of these Bibles don't even have these front pages. Okay, it tells you here. It says this preface was written by the translators of the authorized version and appeared in the full original 1611 printing. Okay, and that 1611 edition, okay, contains the Apocrypha also. Okay, and is written in Old English. Okay, that's why it is not commonly used, or if at all. Okay, but you know, that's how it was written originally when it was translated into English. Okay, it says it was omitted for reasons of space, a smaller size Bible. It was omitted for reasons of space as smaller size Bibles were produced in latter years. Okay, so they took it out trying to save space. So they take out all this whole prologue just because it saves space. Okay, so a lot of these Bibles don't have this prologue in them. Okay, it says, and is rarely to be found in modern editions. Okay, so yeah, I hope you can see the highlighting on this page, because my highlighter pen wasn't all that good last night. But yeah, we'll get into that. I hope you can see that. Okay, all right, just this part here, it says, Your Majesty, for when your highness had once out of deep judgment apprehended how convenient it was that out of the original sacred tongues, okay, and what it's talking about is the Hebrew and the Greek tongues, okay, that these scriptures were originally written in. Okay, the holy tongue, the Lashon Kodash, is that Hebrew tongue. Okay, that's the Lord's tongue. Okay, it says together with comparing of the labors both in our own and other foreign languages of many worthy men who went before us. So other translators that have translated these scriptures into different languages. Okay, that there should be one more exact translation of the Holy Scriptures into the English tongue. Okay, because, you know, like I said, the scriptures were written in different languages, man. You know, commonly Latin and Greek, and the average person couldn't read Greek or Latin. Okay, so it was, you know, commanded that it be not rewritten, but retranslated, okay, into an English that everybody could use. Okay, rather than just being taught by the priests and ministers that knew how to speak Latin and the Greek and so on. Okay. Okay, and and King James put out a great work with a lot of translators to more thoroughly search out these scriptures, to get a clearer translation of them. Okay. Let's see. Right. Here we got praise of the Holy Scriptures, right? This section here, right? It says the scriptures which we are commanded to search, right? And it mentions John chapter 5 verse 39 here, which I got up on the screen here, right? We're going to try and flip this, okay? It says, search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they which are testify of me. Okay, so, if you're about these scriptures, man, you're meant to search them out. Okay? And it mentions Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 20. Okay, I ain't checked these scriptures out yet, so I'm just looking at them now. What does it say here? It says, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. Okay? So understanding these scriptures is very important, man. You can't be ignorant when dealing with these scriptures. You're either about the scriptures and you diligently search them, okay, or you're not with the scriptures, man. Okay. This is says here, they are commended that searched them, that studied them. Okay, and it mentions Acts chapter 17 verse 11. Alright, which I've got that in my list of scriptures to read, right? It says here, these were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind and searched the scriptures daily, whether those things were so. Okay, and we're out there on the highways and byways teaching the people the things that are contained in the scriptures, and the majority of people don't want to hear us or believe us, but them themselves have never actually gone into the scriptures as deep as we have, man. Okay, they want to refute us, but their understanding is low. Okay, their understanding is low. Okay, they don't have the expertise in the scriptures, right? It also says here, they are reproved that were unskilled in them, okay, or slow to believe them, okay, and that's the people we speak of, man. Okay, these people are not skilled in the words of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai in these scriptures, okay. And what you currently carrying is doctrine that was taught by, men you trust in, basically. Okay, but their understanding is low also, because they don't really teach the scriptures, they just teach doctrine. Okay, which, unless it's confirming the scriptures, or it's being confirmed by the scriptures, is null and void, it's vain. Okay? Alright, what else I'll get in here? It says, Alright, we got here is, we must know by all means, saith he, that it is not lawful or possible to learn anything of God or of right piety, save only out of the prophets. Okay, so the words of the prophets, these books that we read in, is the word of God. Okay, and they all stand. The books of the prophets and everything that's written in the scriptures, they all stand. Okay, none of them can be thrown out. Okay, they all stand. Right? It says, who teach us by divine inspiration. Okay, the prophets to move by the Holy Spirit. Okay, it says, moving on, it says, it is a manifesting falling away from the faith and a fault of presumption, even to reject any of those things that are written. Okay, so if you can't get down with what's written, man, this word ain't for you, man. You're rejecting the word. Okay, it says, or to bring in upon the head of them any of those things which are not written. Okay, so you start teaching things that are not written in this, okay, you're going off. Okay, on the translation necessary section, right, it says here, the apostle accepteth no tongue. It's not Hebrew, the ancientest, nor Greek the most copious, nor Latin the finest. Okay, there was 3 main languages at the time. Okay, where the scriptures is concerned, right? And we know that Hebrew is the original, which makes up the Old Testament. Okay, but in the latter time, when there was the dispersion of all, the Israelites, okay, namely the Jews, okay, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, into these other nations, okay, these other tongues came into play because a lot of the diaspora spoke other languages other than Hebrew. Some didn't speak Hebrew at all. Okay, so these other languages, these other tongues became necessary to convey the message. So therefore, these scriptures were written in Greek and in Latin. Okay, but there is issues with them. Okay. Says down here, it says, indeed, without translation into the vulgar tongue, the unlearned are but like the children at Jacob's well. Okay, so it was necessary for these translations to become, because like we say out there on the highways and hedges, man, if we out there speaking Hebrew to people, man, no one's going to understand us, man. Okay, hence why we read out of the English King James Version Bible. Okay, because English is the language that the majority of people speak in this kingdom. Okay, it doesn't make sense to start speaking Greek and Hebrew. A lot of people say, oh, we don't know the Hebrew and the Greek. Okay, yeah, we're not fluent practitioners of Hebrew and Greek and that kind of stuff, but we can break down the words in Hebrew and Greek with studying. Okay, but that's little profit to someone that doesn't understand those things. Okay, so we merely do the studying and we break it down in English, man. Okay, to teach people. Okay. It says, why God would be known only in Jacob and have his name great in Israel. Okay, so they knew that the law was all about the nation of Israel. Okay, and that the scattering, okay, the Gentiles are really Israelites. Okay. And have his name great in Israel and in none other place, while the Jew lay on Gideon's fleece only, and all the earth besides was dry. Then for one of the same people, which spake all of them the language of Canaan, that is Hebrew. Okay, one and the same original in Hebrew was sufficient. Okay, because at that time they was all in the land. Okay, but like I said, when the scattering occurred, okay, it was necessary to write in other languages, right? It says here, Lord, it pleased the Lord to stir up the spirit of a Greek prince, okay? Even Ptolemy, Philadelphia, king of Egypt, okay, who was a Greek, right? To procure the translating of the book of God out of the Hebrew into the Greek. So they translated the Old Testament Hebrew into Old Testament Greek, okay, so-called Old Testament, right? So they translated that into Greek. So this is the translation of the 70 interpreters, commonly so called. So that's where you get the Septuagint. Okay, that's where you get the Septuagint from. But in this prologue, it explains how it wasn't, perfect. Okay, it needed correcting. All right. Says to copy them out, and so they were dispersed and made common. Again, the Greek tongue was well known and made familiar to most inhabitants in Asia by reason of the conquest that the Grecians had made also by the colonies which thither they had sent. For the same causes also it was well understood in many places of Europe, yea, and of Africa. I'm supposing that's supposed to be. Okay. Right, it goes on to say about it. It says, it is certain that the translation was not so sound and so perfect that it needed in many places correction. Okay. It goes on to say, the same being for the greatest part true and sufficient, rather than by making anew. The translation of the 70 was allowed to pass for current, notwithstanding though it was commended generally, yet it did not fully content the learned. Okay, no, not the Jews. Okay, for a learned person, the Septuagint wasn't good enough, man. Okay, it wasn't up to standard, man. It needed editing. Okay, and this is what this King James Bible sought to do. Okay, into English. Okay. So it is evident, and Saint Hierom affirmed as much, that the 70 were interpreters, they were not prophets. Okay, so they weren't infallible men. Okay, and from what is written here, they kind of rushed it. Okay, these 70 interpreters, right? So they were not prophets. They did many things well as learned men, but yet as men they stumbled and fell, one through oversight, while through ignorance, yea, sometimes that may be noted to add to the original, and sometimes to take away from it. Okay, which made the apostles to lead them many times when they left the Hebrew, and to deliver the sense thereof according to the truth of the word, as the Spirit gave them utterance. This may suffice, touching the Greek translations of the Old Testament. Okay, so it wasn't a perfect translation, man. So the Hebrew is the truest version of the Old Testament. Okay, and this is where the English was derived out of. Okay, but as translators, as scholars, they went through the whole lot, man. They compared many different languages together. Okay. So this one's talking about now the translation out of Hebrew and Greek into Latin. Okay, because you got the Latin Vulgate as well, right? I'm gonna just get down to the second part I highlighted. It says, again, they were not out of the Hebrew fountain. Okay, the Latin doesn't stem from the Hebrew. Okay, it stems from the Greek, right? So they were not out of the Hebrew fountain, speaking of the Latin translations of the Old Testament, but out of the Greek stream. Therefore, the Greek being not altogether clear, the Latin derived from it must needs be muddy. Okay, it needed sorting out, man. Okay, it needed sorted out. Okay, and this is what this commission basically was for, to have this book translated more perfectly, like it was said before. All right. Okay. Some of that stuff's just going on about what I've already spoken on. Okay. Yeah. See that later. Right. Right, it says here, right, but like I said, the Greek and the Latin, they weren't perfect translations, but they weren't all bad. I mean, you would have to assume that the majority of it was correct or okay, but it needed refining. Okay, and it said here, it says, but to make a good one better, speaking about the scriptures, right, or out of many good ones, one principal one, okay, i.e. the King James Version, okay, was to be that principal one. Okay. It says the scholars that dealt with it says, both we have learned the Hebrew tongue in part, and in the Latin we have been exercised almost from our very cradle. So Hierom maketh no mention of the Greek tongue, wherein yet he did excel, because he translated not the Old Testament out of the Greek, but out of the Hebrew. Okay. And having so many scholars on the case, man, you know, they all cross-referenced and checked each other to make sure, you know, it was correct, man. They all agreed on it, man. Okay, these other ones, these other English ones, were never so thorough. Okay. It says here, truly it was the Hebrew text of the Old Testament and the Greek of the New. Okay, so this is where the Testaments derived from. Okay, in these scriptures, when you read them, the Old Testament was derived from the Hebrew, and the New Testament was derived from the Greek scriptures. Okay, and there wherein lies the original text. Okay, a lot of people will say, oh, the Bible's been changed and this, that, the other, but there is an original text that you can refer it to, man. And that's why all these new English translations since the King James Version Bible, they're just updates, more modern, new speak. Again, where every translation is losing, you know, the full meaning of things. Okay, it's been watered down, but you still compare it to an original, and you have to search up these words, man. You have to go search up the Hebrew and the Greek to understand what words it's trying to convey, what meanings they're trying to convey. Okay, these new English version Bibles are just, you know, they're being taken from an English Bible. Okay, they're not being taken from the Hebrew or the Greek. Okay, they're just being remade from the King James Version. Okay, and made into more of a modern tongue. Okay, because a lot of the people don't speak the English that's in these scriptures right now. Okay, King's English, or, you know, however you want to call that. Okay. All right, it says here, it says that as the credit of the old books, meaning of the Old Testament, is to be tried, be tested by the Hebrew volumes. Okay, that's your source of reference, the Hebrew scriptures. Okay, so of the new by the Greek tongue. Okay, the New Testament is to be tried against the Greek scriptures. Okay, that were written by the apostles. Okay. Right. It says, these tongues, therefore, the scriptures we say, in those tongues we set before us to translate. Being tongues wherein God was pleased to speak to his church by his prophets and apostles, neither did we run over the work with that post in haste that the Septuagint did. Because like I said, they kind of rushed it. They did it in a small amount of time, man. Okay, but it explains in these prologues that they took double and more of the time than they did. Okay, they were more thorough over it. Right? So if that be true, which is reported of them, that they finished it in 72 days. Okay, that's how long it took them to do it. Okay, but you know, this is a big book, man. Okay, so that, you know, mistakes were likely to have been made. Okay, all right. Says, none of these things, the work have not been huddled up in 72 days, but have cost the workman as light as it seemeth the pains of twice 7 times 72 days and more. Okay, they took their time on that. Okay, to make sure they had it right. Okay. All right. Okay, so it's important. That's, you know, that's all the pages basically. That's all the highlights are made. But like I said, there's quite a few pages to read through if you want to get, you know, really deep into what the scripture, how it was all put together. You know, you gotta have a Bible that has that. Okay, but those are the instances I highlighted out to show the importance of the Hebrew and the Greek, and, you know, understanding those things. If you want to get true understanding, then you have to know that. Okay, but we're gonna get some scriptures now. I don't know why my screen's all blurry. Hold on one sec. Alright, okay. So yeah, you're into the scriptures now. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the second 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 15. Right, because it says here to study to show thyself approved, right? So like I said, if you're already about these scriptures, okay, you're not going to take this English version for face value, because you should know that this is not the original, okay, and you should know that things are lost in translation. Okay, so if you want to learn the scriptures truly, then you're gonna put yourself on the level where you can go into that and go in searching for the Greek and for the Hebrew, because like I said, a lot of things are misconstrued in the version, okay, because of your understanding of English. Now, even when you look at it, these people's understanding of just English itself is on a low level, man. Okay, these people are not really on a high level of dealing with English in itself. Okay, so they get common misperceptions of certain things. Okay, and don't know how to put things in perspective. Okay, but reading the scriptures and understanding the scriptures gives you perspective, man. Okay, but like I said, you gotta delve in a little bit deeper. Okay, but study to show yourself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So you gotta rightly divide what you're reading, man. You gotta understand it properly. Okay. The fact that you Christians and the other people that use these scriptures don't go into it just shows you're not that bothered about it, man. Okay, but that doesn't put, just reading the scriptures in English doesn't put you on the level of us, thinking that you can come against us and speak against us, because your understanding is lower than ours. Okay, by quite a long way. Okay, but you gotta go into it, man. Okay.